97.7 WKSH. You're listening to Issues That Matter. I'm Calvin Lester. That's Stephen Jackson. We thank you for taking some of your time this evening to participate in this conversation. And of course, we pray that our conversation this evening is enlightening and informative. As always, we thank Brother Johnny Antoine for giving us this opportunity to address you and the community on issues that are important. And if you want to participate in this conversation, there are three ways you can do that. You can send us an email at 977theheat@gmail.com. We're going to change it to Hotmail to keep with the branding. Or you can give us a call on the hotline. The hotline number is 318-779-0459, 318-779-0459. You can do that. Or if you're watching on Beyonce's internet, you can give us a chat request or leave your comment, because we are taking advantage of that. We're looking at that. So we want to give you every opportunity possible to participate in our conversation tonight. How you doing, Brother Jackson?
I'm great. How about yourself?
Hey, man, it's another day's journey, and I'm so happy to still be here. So we got a lot of things going on in the city. There are a lot of things going on in the world. Let's start at the top with our headline. So what is your headline?
What you got?
Well, I'm going to tell you what I got. There's been a whole lot of conversation in the NFL about the lack of African-American head coaches, rightly so. Well, of course, we found out today that the head coach for the Miami Dolphins, his name is Mike McDaniel. He was formerly the offensive coordinator for the San Francisco 49ers, and he said today at the press conference that his dad is a black man. Now, he does not look authentically African-American, as if there is an authentic African-American look. He does not go get his hair done at Tight Edge like we do, but I'm sure the folks at Tight Edge can take care of him if that need be, because those guys are really good barbers. Shout out to Bone and the whole staff at Tight Edge for keeping our edges tight. But I just thought it was interesting that he felt the need to go into the whole deal that my dad is black, and I've experienced. Well,
I guess he voted for Obama too, right?
Well, maybe so. They asked him about it. He said, "Well, he doesn't. What is it? He said, I don't identify as anything but a human being until they start losing. Mm-hmm. Yeah, when he start losing, then here come Al Sharpton. But we'll see. Well, what you got?
That is too interesting. Well, earlier this week, the U.S. Supreme Court, not the state, but the U.S. Supreme Court, quietly handed the state of Alabama a victory in redistricting. We have been talking about reapportionment and redistricting throughout the shows, and they quietly handed them a victory by basically reversing their Supreme Court, the state Supreme Court decision to block the Alabama maps, reapportionment maps that would have required the Alabama legislature to draw 2 African-American congressional districts, which would have been monumental in Alabama. And so the Supreme Court, the U.S. Supreme Court, reversed it and upheld a lower court's decision that allows those maps to be put in place. And what I found disingenuous was that the justices basically said that it's too soon. Their primaries will be here, or midterm elections will be here, or right around the corner, even though we are 6 to 8 months away from from what's his name. But their thing is qualified and it's right around the corner, and candidates will need to get ready, even though in a reapportionment year you can always run into a district.
Correct.
So very, very disconcerting. But what I told people is 2016 is still coming back to bite us in the butt.
Hey man, we made some bad choices in 2016.
Right. And for those who chose not to make a choice, you made a choice.
You made a choice. For those of you that say, well, I don't know the difference between Hillary and Homeboy. Well, you know what?
It is.
Homeboy gave these 3 Supreme Court justices. Right. That's busting you across the head every time they can.
Every time they can.
Yeah.
And now Brett Kavanaugh in his opinion basically said he left the door open to make a challenge to the Section 2.
Right.
So Section 5 is already gone.
Right.
And now the door is left open because now they want what Justice Kavanaugh said was, we need to have a full hearing
Right.
on Section 2.
Right.
And so let's just throw the whole thing out.
Right. And again, if you think that, these other folks are playing a game, you're wrong. There are definitely people who do not want to see African Americans have representation, have a voice.
Yeah, look at Louisiana.
Absolutely. And that's something that's going to come up very soon. And prayerfully next week we'll have some members of our legislative delegation on to kind of give us a wrap up on what they've been dealing with.
Yeah. Now the only difference here in Louisiana is, and the difference in Louisiana and Alabama is that we can at least justify the numbers. I think Alabama only had 25%. Their numbers were 25. We have a solid 33%.
Plus, the other thing that we have in Louisiana that they don't have in Alabama is a governor that's going to veto the plan.
Right.
And that makes a difference, all the difference in the world.
Yeah.
One thing that I saw, a lot of people are very much into technology and a particular company, Tesla. But I noticed in California, their Fair Employment Office, which is like the EEOC, Equal Opportunity at the federal level, is suing Tesla for their treatment of their African American workers. There have been a number of complaints against Tesla in his plant in California that says African Americans are kept in low-level menial roles, that they have to do more physical labor than their white counterparts, and when they complain about the unfair treatment, they are often the victims of retaliatory actions, like they get fired or they get poor assignments. So before y'all run out and buy those Teslas, you need to understand, or maybe be reminded by the fact that Elon Musk is from where? South Africa. South Africa is where apartheid, and they kept Nelson Mandela in jail for like what, 27, almost 28 years.
Yep.
So don't believe the hype. Don't believe the hype. But the hype we want you to believe is in this show. We're going to a break real quick. Oh, you got another one?
Yeah.
Okay,
I
I'm
thought
sorry.
we were doing 2 and 2.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm just cutting you out, brother. Go ahead. What you got?
It's all good. The other one is the Ronald Green. I guess we can dive into it really when we get back. So we can take it, and I guess we'll just jump in because I think we need to unpack that.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
So yeah.
All right. So listen, you're listening to 97.7 The Heat, WKSH. We play what we want to play, and we say what we want to say. Stick and stay with us on the other side of this break.
Man, that's amazing. He getting sued anyway for his batteries.
Say what?
He getting sued anyway for his batteries.
Yeah, I saw that.
Right. He is.
I saw that.
The dude burned his whole car because of
Really?
his batteries, man.
Wow.
White cat, man, set it on fire
Wow.
because they didn't want to fix his batteries. Yeah,
Wow.
they were showing it on Instagram. I said,
So his car literally burned up.
yeah.
Wow.
He actually set it on fire because they didn't want to honor his warranty on his batteries. He said, okay, well, fine. Well, he got the money. I guess he had the money to burn his car.
Wow. So he burned his car up
His
himself.
own car.
Wow. That's deep. That's deep.
That's crazy, man. And they showed the dude doing it, man. I was like, dog, man.
That's like those guys that's mad with LeBron and everybody burning their jersey. He burned his car.
Yeah, he burned his car.
Wow.
Well, it is what it is, man. Man, it's amazing, man. We still going through some of the same stuff.
Same stuff.
This 2022, man.
The game don't change, man.
That's amazing to me how it doesn't change. Man.
The game doesn't change.
Why?
And if you think the game does, you're sadly mistaken.
Right.
I mean, we got to get a wake-up call. And,
Like to fight over or something. Huh?
I mean,
that's what a lot of us act like.
hey, man,
Over.
and it's not. Because every time you win, they lose. And they looking at this thing as a zero-sum game.
Right.
For every Steven Jackson that gets elected, that's one less,
Right.
whatever that's get elected.
Right.
And they don't ever want to be in a situation where The worst thing that happened to them, man, is when Obama got elected.
Right.
Because they was like, this system will allow another one.
Right.
This system will allow another one, and we don't want another one. So let's go down to the states and let's start sniping and shooting at all of those guys because we don't ever want to see the rise of a black messiah.
Let me ask you something.
That's the whole purpose. Not to cut you off. COINTELPRO, that the FBI, that was to stop the rise of the next black messiah.
Man, that's crazy.
That was the whole purpose of the program. We don't want to see another Martin Luther King Jr. We will not have it. Go ahead. I'm sorry. I'm cutting you off.
Oh man, that's amazing, man. I forgot what I was going to say.
Well, no, I mean, it just.
I apologize for that.
No, you good. You good.
The thought is that we're going to take basically non-offending, unoffending,
Right.
blacks and place them in positions, give them opportunities. So that will give us an opportunity to say, you know what, that's why you got situations in Baton Rouge where, deals will be cut to keep your legislative districts 90+%, and we just gonna sprinkle a little dollar here and there.
Right.
So I just
10.
Okay.
but it's bad,
It is, though.
and you think we making progress.
97.7 The Heat, WKSH. You're listening to Issues That Matter. I'm Calvin Lester and Stephen Jackson. We thank you for participating with us and listening to us and giving your attention. We really do appreciate it. We know you had other choices, but we thank you for continuing to stick with us. And, of course, we'd be remiss if we didn't thank our station owner, Brother Johnny Antoine, Amore Community Radio, for giving us this opportunity to speak to
your name. Is it more right?
Yeah, I mean, but everybody pronounce it differently. So, but it's all right. But it's love.
Okay.
It's all love, baby.
Okay.
More,
So-
right? Amore.
Amore? Okay.
He didn't added a French.
Oh, Stevie Wonder
He done
style. I
added
like
a
that.
French-
Amore. I like
Yeah,
that.
man,
he done
hey.
added a French.
Amore.
Amore.
Yeah.
That's the Cedar Grove
Right,
pronunciation.
more.
Oh, right. My Cherie Amore. That's right. Community radio. So listen, if you want to call us, our number is 318-779-0459, 318-779-0459. So when we left, we were talking about headlines, and there's a very interesting headline that we were discussing before the show that Brother Jackson had. Brother Jackson, talk to us about the headline and what your thoughts are on that particular headline.
I just it caught me by surprise, but I see where the National Bar Association is calling for Governor John Bel Edwards to resign over the Ronald Greene situation, and so I'm just trying to figure out, who is the National Bar? Well, why would the National Bar Association be jumping down into a Louisiana race?
That's crazy.
Did the conservatives put them up to this? Is this something Donald Trump is pushing?
No, it's not the conservatives, because the National Bar Association is the Black Bar Association.
What?
It's the black one. That's my bar association. There are two bar
They
associations.
let y'all have a national?
Yes. It wasn't like they let us. So the American Bar
They gave y'all
Association.
the NBA.
Before, I think our NBA is older than the NBA. So the American Bar Association is a bar association for everybody.
Everybody, yeah.
But of course, back when African Americans were attempting to go to law school, we were not included in everybody. So sometime in the 1940s, the National Bar Association came together, and there are about 7 regions, if I'm not mistaken, across the country. And Louisiana, I want to say we're either in region 6 or 7. Our region is Texas, Louisiana, and Mississippi. And the National Bar Association's National Bar Association is the Black Bar Association of African American attorneys. The National Bar Association also sponsors the Black Law Students Association that most of us were a part of, regardless of whether you went to an HBCU law school. And the National Bar Association sponsors the pre-bar association, which is like for if you're in an undergrad, let's say at Southern or Grambling or even Louisiana Tech, it sponsors undergraduates who are interested in becoming attorneys. And so that's who the National Bar Association is. Their president is a gentleman by the name of Carlos Moore. He is a judge in, I believe, Grenada, Mississippi. I was fortunate enough to speak. I introduced him when I was working at Jarvis Christian College. He came to Jarvis to speak to our students. He's a very interesting gentleman. He was the first African-American judge in Grenada, Mississippi. I don't know what county that is, but he's that person. And he's also affiliated in his day job with the Johnny Cochran law firm that has offices, of course, in Louisiana.
Yeah. Well, I just, you know, they are,
they are.
This push to make or to ask Governor John Bell Edwards to resign is just, you know, it's a little odd, and I won't say misplaced, because I think there's some issues that need to be raised about the Ronald Green situation, but to go so far as to call on the governor of the state of Louisiana to resign, and then I also see where there's a quote-unquote bipartisan legislative panel that's been empowered to look into state lawmaking, to look into state leadership's response to Ronald Green. I just wondering if there's something there. Is there a smoking gun, to use the term?
Right.
Is there a smoking gun there that nobody, or is this all just political grandstanding? And at the end of the day, all we're going to get is the same information we've already received, is the brother was beaten. And I think everybody realizes now that there's been a cover-up.
Right.
And, you know, are they going to try to reveal that somebody else covered this up? Was there something that the governor did to cover it? I have yet to see, even in revealing his text messages,
Right.
I have yet to see where the governor played a role in covering up or lying or, you know, misleading the public on the Ronald Green case. Could it have been handled better? I'm sure.
Right.
But was there a cover up? I think that's a reach. And so
Right.
it looks like that House Republican leadership is playing a game of chicken with, or they're playing the emotional politics. They're using that emotional card to play politics about this issue. Coming into the state's midterm, or, you know, somebody said that this could be a reason where the Republican leadership is probably trying to silence John Bell on his veto threat for redistricting.
Right. You know, I saw the tagline, and I was interested because certainly there have been other issues, similar issues in the state, and the Bar Association hasn't taken a position on it. I don't recall the Bar Association taking a position on Alton Sterling.
Yeah.
Alton Sterling. I don't know that the Bar Association has taken a position on Tommy McLaughlin,
right,
or what's the other brother that was killed in Shreveport?
Wavy Austin.
Wavy Austin.
Yeah.
Anthony Childs, and one of his law partners, or partner in the firm, is the counsel of record, at least on McLaughlin, I think, Brother Carter from New Orleans. So, you know, is there something there? Is there some posturing? Possibly. It would seem to be, but I think your overall point is very well taken, where folks who, you know, did not participate in Edmund Jordan's police reform package last legislative session, voted it down in committee, wouldn't allow it to be heard on the floor of the House or the Senate, are now so interested in what happened to Brother Green.
Right.
And their consciences have been pricked, and, you know, this collective clutching of the pearls, if you will. Oh my goodness, I can't believe that this happened, is beyond disingenuous. It's actually, you know, pretty insulting, and insulting to the collective intelligence of African Americans across the state. So, no, I'm with you.
Right.
Should an investigation happen? Yes. Should we put this whole thing on the table and put all the sunshine that we can into it to find out what happened? Yes. Should we investigate the state police? Absolutely. Right. You know, I'll tell you who's been silent, if you really want to talk about it. The person who's been the most silent is the person who has one of the biggest voices, whether we like him to use it or not. That's our attorney general.
Right. That's what I'm
You
saying.
know, our attorney general is a very aggressive Republican
Right.
who loves the spotlight,
Right.
who loves to sue Democrats, Democratic presidents, and governors
And mayor.
and mayors. Every time he
he's
turn
had
around,
something to say about everything.
He's had something to say about everything, and yet, you know, our attorney general has had nothing to say about the whole McLaughlin situation and understanding the
Or Ronald
relationship,
Green.
or Ronald Green, and understanding the relationship that the attorney general's office has with the state patrol, state police. I mean, many of you may not know that when you play video poker and gaming is under the state police, but you've got a connection to the attorney general's office that all works the legal piece for that. And so, yes, they are an executive function, and ultimately the state police reports to the governor because that's the chain of command in the Constitution. But, you know, I would love to hear from our attorney general. You know, where was he when there was some calls for police reform? He was pretty silent. When
Always
there was,
seems to get quiet.
well, you know, I guess he didn't want to jeopardize his photo op with the police, the Fraternal Order of Police, when it's time for him to run for governor next year. And he wants to, you know, be standing in front of the sea of blue and say, you know, I'm for crime fighting and all this other kind of good stuff. So, no, I think it's very disingenuous. And we have to be alert and vigilant for those people who would use an incident to otherwise destroy and mar our relationship with people who have heretofore been our allies. You know, I take the governor on his word. He didn't cover it up. And he talked to the proper folks and gave them, you know, the opportunity to do what they were supposed to do. That's kind of what it is. And so
I just, you know, I hate to see, it's a sad situation, but I don't see any solutions coming out of, let me say, I haven't seen any solutions that have come. All I've seen is more of the same. This person knew this person knew that. And I think, you know, we have processes in place, and my understanding is there's a federal investigation that's going on, and let the federal investigation play out, let it run its course. But it seems like at the state level, there are a lot of people that are trying to get in front of, and all you're going to do is come back with the same thing that we've had, that we all know. Tell me something I don't know is what I'm trying to find. Tell us something. If you got something that we don't know, if you got a smoking gun out there, put that out there.
right.
But I'm getting tired of seeing this. Oh, well, you know, the governor
Right.
knew. I mean, if you look at the way he responded to most text messages, most of it, you know, they released all of his text messages yesterday. If you go to WBRZ,
Right.
they released all of his text messages yesterday.
Gotcha.
They released all of Ted James' text messages.
Gotcha.
They released all of Colonel Davis' text messages yesterday. And in a lot of different texts, the governor's response is just, thank you.
Right. I mean, at the end of the day, if this scenario is not going to end in supporting representative
reform, right.
You know,
Some significant amount of
right.
reform.
If we're not doing police reform, if we're not doing away with qualified immunity, again, for those that don't know, qualified immunity says this: if you are a police officer and you are in the dispensation of your duties, if you're doing your job and someone is killed, if someone is harmed,
You can be held
cannot
personally, right.
You cannot be held personally responsible, personally liable. Whereas if you or I as an individual hit somebody upside the head, we can be sued in our individual capacities. And so getting rid of qualified immunity, many people argue, and I would tend to agree, that if a police officer has to think about them paying that $1 million judgment, their retirement being attacked, and being held to account personally, and not having the city or the state or whatever to cover the bill, they would probably be less likely to engage in some of those activities.
Right.
Now, you're going to have some bad guys because there's a bad apple everywhere that's going to get into something and they're going to get popped. But citizens should care about that, because when your city pays $1 million judgment because a police officer did something wrong, That's $1 million that we don't have to fix your street.
Right.
That's $1 million that we don't have for a teacher's salary or things of that nature. So we should all be concerned about that. But
Because all the city and the state and the parish, we don't get insurance by Geico.
no,
We don't get insurance by Progressive.
self-insured.
Jake from Allstate
No,
is
sir.
not providing us with these insurance claims. The city, the parish, the state, we are self-insured.
That's
so
right.
that means that is coming out of our direct. That's coming out of our general fund.
That's right.
And so when these things happen, when these settlements happen, when
Yes.
these lawsuits happen,
Yes.
that's not some insurance company covering that.
No.
That's coming. That's real taxpayer dollars that are coming out of somebody's pocket. We got a lot to talk about too.
Yeah.
Later on about law enforcement as well, because we got a pretty top issue that's bubbling up
Right.
over at our jail.
That's right. So stick with us. This is 97.7 The Heat, WKSH.
Letting the
You're
good ones
listening to- right. We're going to try to bring the good ones back. Listen, stick with us. We're listening 97.7 The Heat, WKSH. We play what we want to play. We say what we want to say. Come back with us.
To be perfectly clear, this guy, they killed this guy. High speed chase, beat him to death.
Mm-hmm.
That's crazy.
Beat the brakes off the dude. And then,
And showed it.
wait. Recorded it
Mm-hmm.
and lied and said he was in a car accident.
Yeah.
Well, how did he get these injuries? He was in a car accident. By car accident, you mean you hit him upside the head with this billy club? Is that the car accident you're talking about?
Man, that's crazy.
Yeah.
I posted that years, and it's about 3 years ago, right? 3 to 4 years
I
ago?
think so.
Yeah.
I think it was it 2018, I think?
Yeah, it's been a minute. And they still talking about some or still trying to.
Because what happened was the video messed around and came out.
Yeah.
That's what when the video came out, everybody was like,
Yeah.
wait a minute, it wasn't no accident? Because the family was like, well, they said it was an accident. We don't think so, but we don't know.
I
But
think
when
a
the video
New York-
popped off.
I think a New York news crew or somebody in New York or somewhere caught wind to this.
Right. I
And
think you're
when
right.
They did this when they caught wind to it.
And got the video.
It was on national news.
Right.
And then when they put it on national news, then everybody
Bubble
had
up.
to look at it.
Yeah.
You know, everybody.
Everybody started, as we say, lawyering up at that point.
Yeah, exactly.
Everybody like, hey.
But it was 2 years old then.
It was.
You see what a KTVS done did a hit on? That's some bullshit.
Hey.
Oh.
That's all right.
My bad.
That's okay.
You could.
What?
That's okay.
I cussed, didn't it?
Yeah, it's okay. But they blocked that out. There you go. Thank you. So they did a hit on who?
Casey Brown, the CFO.
Hit him like what? You know what? We're not gonna repeat that foolishness.
But that's foul though. They talking about he got an arrest record. Like,
Amen.
why do we have to take the religion? Why do we have to take the purity test?
Yeah.
The social
exactly.
purity test.
Exactly.
They on here talking about he got traffic violation,
What? Who don't?
and he got arrested for having a stolen cell phone. Is that what we doing?
Man, listen.
Is that what we doing in 2022?
Yes,
A
Is
stolen
that
cell
what
phone.
we doing?
dude. Let me tell you something. The answer to that is yes, because I recall when I was elected official, I got a call
You right.
about me having
That's foul, man.
about me having a traffic ticket or running a red light, and somebody in the marshal's office called in and said, "Well, you know, he got a ticket for running a red light."
I mean, bruh. But they didn't
And
went
I went
and
to go
found.
pay the ticket.
They didn't went and found where he had
They
traffic
followed
violations.
me into the clerk of court's office at City Court with a camera from a local television station, and went live, hot, like breaking news. City councilman has a traffic citation. Bruh, I promise you. And I'm not gonna give the guy who broke the story any pub, but he is now on CBS because he did stuff like that. That's how he got there. I need to sue him for child support or something like that to get a piece of that action because he used me to get to where he was.
Man, it's amazing, man. But that's what get me, man. Like we have to have this pristine type of
But here's how that goes,
life.
brother. Here's how that goes. We shouldn't have to, and we don't. I expect the other side to go that route. Okay? What I don't expect us to traffic in that foolishness. Why anyone that's black ever reads the Inquisitor or plays with that SB Inquisitor foolishness is beyond me. Because if we stop trafficking in that stuff and not, as the young people say, not giving any energy, it's not going anywhere. David Vitter had sex with a prostitute from Bourbon Street and was a United States senator and came this close to being the governor. And they knew it, and they did not even address it because he was one of theirs.
It's crazy, man. It just don't make sense to me, man.
Trump got elected with all of the stuff he had going on.
Man, we ain't even talking
Because
about
what? He was one of theirs, and they didn't traffic in that. Oh, we're not going. He won ours, and at a certain point, we need to say to those folks that they are ours. You know, and if local news stations or stuff are going to traffic in that foolishness, we just need to boycott them.
Right.
Period.
That's ridiculous, though, man.
But that's what it is. That's what it is.
Dang, they done misquoted me on Twitter. Said I honestly don't think that doing more jail or adding
10.
Okay.
.7 Heat, WKSH. You are listening to Issues That Matter. I'm Calvin Lester. That's Stephen Jackson. We thank you for taking some of your time this evening to participate in this conversation. We thank you for watching us on Beyonce's internet. And we thank you for, of course, listening live on the radio. If you want to participate in this conversation, there are three ways you can do it. You can send us an email at 977theheat@gmail.com. You can call us at 318-779-0459. That's 318-779-0459. That's the Heat line. Or you can give us a comment on the internet, and we would love to hear from you. So, Stephen, before we left, there's been a not so subtle brewing situation as it relates to the Caddo Parish jail.
Never settle.
Right. Never settle. Never
when
settle.
it comes to these two.
Never settle. And so our sheriff has made some accusations, for lack of a better term, and it seems like he wants to say that the increase in crime is directly attributable to some things that are happening or not happening at the courthouse. And one of the things that I appreciate, and you can speak on this more, is there's some conversation about the number of people that are presently being housed at CCC. What's going on with that?
Yeah. Hold on, Rick. Yeah, and so right now, and I'm getting a text message from a reporter who did a story on it. Shout out to Jade, who's trying to fix a situation that says that I said that we don't need a place to house violent offenders when we do. And we're trying to fix that now because I don't want to be on the record saying we don't need a place for violent offenders. We do. What is going on is CCC was built to hold maybe right at about 1,200, maybe 15. I don't know, but it's getting to capacity. Caddo Parish Juvenile Detention Center was built to house 24 juvenile offenders. The Caddo Parish Commission never saw, since its infancy, we never saw juvenile detention as just a detainment, a jail for youth. Our focus has always been that we rehabilitate children. That's why it's called juvenile services.
Right.
We provide a service. Okay.
Right.
It's not. You have the juvenile detention center, But at the juvenile detention center, you have juvenile services. Those children wake up every day. They go to school.
Right.
While they're there, it's not rest day or
Right.
time off.
Right.
And so they receive case management. They receive mental and behavioral health support.
Right.
And so we've seen an uptick in violent juvenile crime. But what folks need to know is the violent offenders, they go for a hearing and they are sent to CCC.
Right.
Well, what Sheriff Prater doesn't want is he does not want those juveniles over there.
And why is that?
I'd love to know why. I don't understand why.
Maybe could it be the calculation as to who's making money off of those folks?
That could be the case. And it could be that, there's a little bit more attention that you have to give to them. But we're not going to there's no way imaginable that we would put someone who's committed a murder in with a kid who is just showing aggression
right.
at home.
Right.
Because you pair those two up together, and how do you think the kid who was just showing aggression to a school teacher
correct
is going to come out 6 months later,
it's gonna
9
be
months
worse.
later?
It's
He's going to
be
get worse.
Right.
Right.
And
And so that's never what we've been about.
right.
And so and there's been a conscious effort by the judges to expedite those hearings,
Right.
and send them to send those individuals over to CCC.
Right.
Now we have an attack on our district attorney. Shout out to James Stewart.
Right.
That he is moving too slow. Well, you're an attorney.
Right.
The DA doesn't determine the docket.
No.
They prepare the case,
Right.
and they have to be there to be ready to prosecute those cases.
Correct.
The judges determine their docket,
Correct.
and the judge determines if they want to have court that day
And
and how much they're going to have. If they have in court, how much they're going to do that day. That's on the judge. That's not on the DA.
Let's be for real. Let's back up for a second and give some people some information. You're absolutely right. The district attorney prepares cases for trial. They present the trial. The docket is the court docket, which is the sole province of the judge. Now, what would happen to make courts go longer or back up the caseloads? Let's see.
COVID-19 would be one.
You got COVID-19, right? And for the longest time, because we were going in a virtual space,
Right.
we were having virtual hearings.
Right.
People were not having court.
And I believe people are entitled to a trial by jury.
Absolutely.
Oh, okay, all right.
Absolutely.
That's a fundamental right.
That's a fundamental right.
Okay,
You
all
have
right.
a right to stand and have your day in court and stand and face your
And
accusers.
how many people on the jury trial?
You got, if it's misdemeanor 6, if you got a felony 12.
So you got 12 people huddled up in a little small confined.
And there were no trials.
Okay.
Let's be honest, there were no trials. They pushed dockets off for the longest, and when the courthouse opened up, you had dockets that were overcrowded. Here's something else that didn't get mentioned by our sheriff and those folks. As I appreciate, the courthouse was closed for about a week because someone drilled into electrical.
Right.
And so the courthouse literally was closed for a week.
Right.
There was a fire.
Right.
There was no court.
Right.
There were no hearings. There was nothing. You couldn't even come into the courtroom. Even back when I was a young person coming out of law school in 1996, and I clerked at the courthouse, they started the video court where you would have jail clearance to give people their 72-hour hearings, so you wouldn't have to transport people back and forth from CCC and that whole 9 yards, or bring them from upstairs where there's a holding cell. Of course, there's holding in the basement now, but this whole idea that suddenly our district attorney is doing something out of the ordinary or he's not doing his job is a fiction. The fact of the matter is there are any number of reasons why you've had a backup. And here's the other thing. Let's remember that Louisiana had the highest rate of incarceration in the nation,
Mm-hmm.
and Caddo Parish had the highest incarceration rate in the state.
In the world.
Which
Yeah.
is...
Oh,
I'm getting ready to go there. Caddo Parish was the highest in the state. The state was the highest in the nation, which is the highest in the world. So the Caddo Parish had the highest incarceration rate
In the
per
world.
capita on the planet.
Right.
There were more people per capita being housed in jail in Cattle Parish than anywhere else in the world. That is a fact. That is a documented fact. And that's why the legislature, which is, last time I checked, dominated by conservative Republicans, agreed with Governor John Bel Edwards that something had to be done because massively incarcerating people was not helping with crime, nor was it a model that was fiscally sustainable. The amount that you spend per inmate triples what you spend per pupil. But that's a whole nother conversation. We'll have to get Dr. Gorey to talk about how much they're spending
on
to
the
incarcerate our children
right.
versus how much they're charging in the MFP, which is the formula per child. But just understand, we were spending at least 3 times what they spend to educate your child. We were more than willing to spend $25,000 to house somebody in jail, but we're not spending $5,000 to educate them. But that's a whole nother lecture.
Are we still the?
No, I don't think we.
It's starting to fall.
Right, it's falling.
I mean, we might be behind Mississippi and Alabama, but it ain't like we number 2.
Right.
You know.
But it just, we can go in right now. And so what I have, and I'm going to ask for formally, is I'm going to ask for, I want to see the top 50 inmates that are at CCC. And I want to see how long they've been there. I want to see the longest detained inmates, the top 50 that have been detained the longest. And I want to see what their charges are. And I'm willing to bet that most of those charges are small. I'm not saying all, but I'm willing to bet that the vast majority of those folks are in there for a small, nonviolent misdemeanor.
And here's the other thing. Here's the other piece. People need to understand jails and prisons are 2 different things.
Right.
Jail is a pre-trial detention place. You have been accused of a crime. You have not been convicted. When you are convicted, you go to prison, okay? When you're standing trial, you go into jail. So there's a possibility that there are a number of people inside CCC that are only there because they can't afford their bond.
They can't afford to bond out. Right.
And
or they can't afford an attorney.
Or they can't afford it. Well, you can't afford an attorney, so that someone is appointed for you and you got the public defender.
Who's backed up.
Who's backed up because they have so many cases. But more than likely, if you have a bail amount that is so high that you can't afford to pay it, then you're stuck in jail for a relatively minor offense.
It's a racket.
Right.
Of course it's a racket.
Right.
As a matter of fact, in Houston, Harris County, Texas, maybe about 5 years ago, there was a federal lawsuit where they filed against Harris County because at the time, Harris County had the largest single prison complex in the country, right? And they looked at the amount of bail that was being charged for offenses, and the federal government came in and said, you got to change the entirety of your system because you had people in there that had been in jail waiting for trial for 2 or 3 years that were only there because they couldn't afford the bail. That was it.
Yeah.
And that's the bottom line.
And so I don't understand. And here's what happens, Johnny, and to our listeners. These individuals get released. So we go talk to the judges and we get the judges agree to release them ROR, which is basically released on your own recognizance.
Right.
And so you ROR, they put you on ROR and they give you an ankle monitor or something. So you get out. Okay.
Right.
What happens 2 or 3 weeks later is we start seeing in the news there's a roundup, a drug roundup.
Right.
Or we gonna do this big traffic operation on Saturday night. And if you ain't got this on you, you ain't got that on you, we locking you up. And next thing you know, here's 40, 50 people being put in CCC. More often than not, they're poor.
Right.
Okay. They ain't doing this down in Southern Trace.
No.
More often than not, they're held in places that were poor, or we do these warrant roundups.
Right.
And those folks go sit over there.
Right.
Because they can't make bond.
Correct.
And they just sit there.
the purpose,
So we can let them out.
right,
We can let them out today.
right.
But in 2 weeks from now, you're going to go around a whole bunch of folks back up and bring some new faces on in. What are we doing?
The purpose of bail is to secure your attendance in court. It's not to be punitive. The statutes say that, the cases say that. The purpose of bail
You know what
is
I'm gonna do?
simply to require you to come back to court. So if I think I can charge an amount like $100 and you'll come back to court, I can put your bond at $100, right? But what happens is a lot of times judges set these exorbitantly high bonds because they don't want people to get out, even though they may be first-time felony offenders. They might have a legitimate reason for what happened, or there may be some infirmity with the case. The police might have violated their rights. Because, again, when you're in jail, you have been accused of a crime. You're not convicted. You have the right to face your accusers and have your day in court. And so, for anyone to say that, this is this person's fault, that person's fault,
You know what I'm gonna do?
disingenuous. Go ahead.
I'm going to put an ordinance on their agenda using American Rescue Plan dollars. And we're going to find us an organization that will go pay the bail for all those nonviolent.
Well, in I want to say New York, Jay-Z and some other entertainer went, I think, around Christmas, and they paid the bail for like everyone that was in jail with a non-violent, non-felony offender.
Yeah, I remember seeing that.
And they let people out.
Yeah.
Particularly mothers and things of that nature.
Yeah.
You would be surprised at how many people are in jail simply because they got a bond that they can't pay.
They can't pay. So I'm gonna put that, and we're gonna call some folks to the carpet,
Right.
and we're gonna use American Rescue Plan dollars that can be used to basically, I think the verbiage is you can provide stimulus payments
Right.
to those individuals, and we're gonna pay those nonviolent. Has to be for a nonviolent offense.
Right.
Traffic violation,
Right.
little paraphernalia, something
Right.
like that.
Right.
We gonna pay their bond,
Right.
and if they over there because they simply can't make bail, we're gonna see how we can get their bail paid.
I mean, this is the same status quo situation that famously got on television and said, well,
Letting the good ones.
they let the good ones go.
Yeah, and I bet if 50 people qualify for that, I bet in a month,
I'm
them
sure
50,
I'm sure it's
50
more than
folks
that.
will be right back in there.
Well, that's kind of what he does because that's kind of what his thing is. So that's something that we really need to pay attention to, ladies and gentlemen, and we will talk about that more. Please stay tuned with us as we kind of delve into that information further. But we've enjoyed our time with you, and we hope and pray that this conversation has been enlightening. Even when the show is over, please feel free to send us an email. Our email is 977theheat@gmail.com, or give us a comment or send us a call, and we'll research it. And so we want to make sure that you understand that this show is as much as about you and your issues as those things that we come across. I'm Calvin Lester. That's Stephen Jackson. This has been Issues That Matter. Thank you so much, and God bless. You're listening to 97.7 Heat, WKSH. We play what we want to play, and we say what we need to say. Have a good evening.
What would you